It's a pity that today African youth drown in the Mediterranean on their way to greener pastures in Europe. This is a trend that we need to arrest by creating a neighboring environment on the continent, by creating opportunities for employment right here in the African continent. That way we'll be able to save our people, to salvage our people. We need to look ourselves as Africans and Africa for Africans. This is the reason why I've accepted the challenge by my friend, long-term friend, General Oga Papa Olusegun Obasanjo. Papa has also been a mentor to us. He's told you how we met. Papa used to run an institution called African Leadership Forum. In that forum, he was training young African leaders to try to impart on them experience. Africa, for example, has got also one of the biggest carbon sinks in the world, the second largest of the Amazon, the Congo forest. So Africa needs to be compensated. But if we go as Kenya, we go as DRC, Nigeria, Guinea, Senegal, Egypt, Algeria, South Africa, then we will not listen to you. They keep on taking you round and round and round. I've told you because I've told you I've been to these international conferences, these COP conferences. The resolutions are being passed. You can talk until your voice is hoarse. But after that, people pack up and go. Heads of state jump or come in on jets, land and quick there to go and make speeches. Making speeches back on the jets and go back. They wait for the next other conference next year. So people who are just doing those conferences, they move from one conference to another conference. Each year they take 2 months or 3 months camping in those conferences. But nothing concrete comes out of them. You must make sure that something concrete comes out of those conferences. The African Union can be the champion of this. African Union should be able to speak more effectively on behalf of the interests of Africa if the African government give it the power and the mandate to do so. And that's the reason why I've offered myself to run for the position of African Union chairmanship. I hope that I will be able to use that position effectively to represent Africa, to make sure that Africa claims this century. I plan to work with you, Your Excellencies, to integrate this continent. You're one people who unfortunately are trying too hard to separate from each other. I have traveled the length and breadth of this beautiful continent, and I have seen the faces of Africa's future. I was involved in peace negotiations in Burundi with Mwalimu Nyerere. I was involved as the mediator of the AU with the conflict in Côte d'Ivoire. I was involved in Mozambique. So I understand the continent. And I see the faces of our children, full of hope and energy, and unbound by the borders of yesterday. I dream of an Africa where those borders and colonial languages no longer divide us. We don't want to see Africans to be divided as Anglophones, Francophones, Lusophones. I want them to be Africaphones. I went to Juba, South Sudan, as an envoy of IGAD. President Ruto had spoken to President Museveni of Uganda, Prime Minister Abiy of Ethiopia, and President Omar Gele of Djibouti. This is because of the deteriorating security situation in South Sudan. So I went to Juba and had a meeting with the President Salva Kiir of the South Sudan in its office. We know that recently the first Vice President, Mr. Riek Machar, has been put under house arrest. Him and his wife and a number of other people. This is what concerned the leadership in the region. The situation in South Sudan is explosive and can explode any time. So I had a lengthy discussion with President Kiir, who told me about challenges they're facing, that there was a killing of a general and about 10 other people in the town of Nasir in the Upper Nile. And this is what they're actually investigating. And because of this, he said that Vice President Dr. Riek Machar had been placed under house arrest as they continue with their investigations. From Juba, I asked to be allowed to talk to Dr. Machar, but they were not able to allow me to see him. Instead, they recommended that I meet with President Museveni. So from Juba, I went to Entebbe and had a meeting with President Museveni. I reported to him what I had found in South Sudan. And after lengthy discussions, he said he was going to get in touch with President Kiir. So we agreed that I would go back to Juba later. So I've come back here, and I just want to say that it is a work in progress. I'm going to make a report to President Ruto and Prime Minister Abiy and President Gele of my findings in South Sudan. The situation requires international attention. I'm happy with the UN for getting engaged in what's going on in South Sudan. I think it is a situation that warrants intervention by international community. Thank you.
If you can say it in Swahili.
Members of the Orange Democratic Movement, first I want to convey greetings to all of you wherever you are across the country. We are approaching the end of the year, and we've decided that at this time we actually launch membership recruitment to our party. ODM, as you know, is a growing political party, and therefore we give an opportunity to those younger people who have never had opportunity to register as members to do so. We're going to launch the membership recruitment drive in Siaya, Kababa tomorrow. After that, we'll do the same exercise in Homa Bay on Monday. And thereafter we'll come again to Dori, to Kisii, to Nyamira, to Kisumu to complete Nyanza. But the exercise will be launched across the country. So members can register at party branches across all the constituencies in the country. We want this exercise to continue through the month of December, January, February, up to March. After that, we will close it, and then we will do the elections in all the counties of the country. We will elect officials from the smallest unit, which is the polling station. There you go to the ward. After that, you go to the branch, which is the sub-county. And then you go to the county. And finally, we'll end up with a national delegate convention, which will then elect the national officials of the party. You can actually also register online. And this is star 483 star 036 hash www.odmmembership.com. Thank you. The issues that have been raised by Gen Zs are not new issues. There are similar issues which we raised last time, even last year we were on the streets. We talked about unemployment in our country. We talked about high cost of living in our country. We talked about corruption, rampant corruption in the country. We talked about tribalism and ethnicity, discrimination in our country. And then we talked about management of debt in the country. These are critical issues that need to be discussed. But thirdly is the issue of governance. We have a new constitution, but we are not actually following that constitution. There are issues which were pending. Kenyans met at Bomas of Kenya and deliberated for a very, very long time and came up with a very, very progressive constitution. That constitution was bastardized to a certain extent during the so-called Naivasha process. We must go back to the Bomas draft constitution, put it back on the table, and see what needs to be cleaned up so that we can have a progressive constitution. So you said, therefore, that it's on the basis of that kind of elaborate process that we can then talk about a government of national unity. But then you say that if you want to take some of our experts and get into your government, we release them to join your government and work in accordance with the ethics of our party, ODM and Azimio. That's what we said. We have not changed. This position has not changed. We said we want to see a new Kenya, and the people of Kenya are entitled to it. And that's why we said we agree with the Gen Z in their demands. We were in a very serious situation sometime last year. Everybody knows where we were. There was a real possibility of Kenya degenerating into a failed state. People who do not understand history talk very easily. But ask them, tell them what happened in Libya, what happened in Egypt after the Arab Spring. What happened? Where was the terrorist square crowd not able to move in and take the government and form a government? Where do you have a military regime in Egypt today after the Arab Spring? Even Tunisia. People do not understand. That's why they make it very simple. And it's very easy for them to write articles in newspapers. I read them, I just laugh. They tried to trivialize what was a very serious situation. What we have today is basically something that we were forced into because of the circumstances that were existing at that time. I want to invite somebody to tell me their own solution, how this would have been solved. We sacrificed so that there could be peace in this country. And that's the reason why we are here today. I do not regret what we did. We did it in the best interest of our country. And Kenya must move forward. The Director of Public Prosecution was also a new and exciting creation in the new Constitution. It has largely failed to deliver on the high expectations of Kenya. just 1 year before we promulgated the new constitution in 2009, Attorney General of Kenya was described by a special rapporteur of the United Nations as the embodiment in Kenya of the phenomenon of impunity. That description remains accurately descriptive of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions in Kenya today.